Hey, it's Talking in Stations, today in EVE Online. Wednesday, July 29th, 2020. I am Matterall here with some friends, Fonsui.
Hey.
Dutch Gunner, and Elaine. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay, first thing we need to do is correct something about the arc. Yesterday, we talked about an arc. Can you explain, Dutch, what really happened?
In Chapter 2, the biggest challenging side, the one where you got the biggest reward, was the Observatory Flashpoint. And with Chapter 3, they now have, and I think it's called the World Arc Assault Vector. Don't have the name completely correct yet, but it's a reintroduction and a do-over from what they had in Chapter 1 with the World Arc Proving Ground. There is their World Arc, the Zordas, that's a ship. And at the end in the World Arc Proving Ground, if you clear the site, the Zordas ship would withdraw. And what you mentioned yesterday was that it was destroyed in Chapter 3, and that isn't the case. It's the same as with the World Arc Proving Ground from Chapter 1, that once you clear the site, that ship withdraws. So it's not destructible as of yet. We don't know if that's going to change, but so far it's still, you still won't be able to blow up that ship.
Let's see. Well, we do have some information. There's the Ark's death on the third entrance to the site. Here, I'll bring it up. And this is what I'm talking about. So let's see if I can... Yeah, somebody corrected me that it wasn't blown up, but it said... So basically, this is the information I got. So basically, somebody saw the first two entrances into the site not finish and didn't realize there was a third entrance, which did indeed take place after the final liminality.
Yeah, the site, there was a first attempt, in which case the attacking fleet was also attacked by Cybernauts. And during that fight, I'm just going to call it the EDI fleet, they were unfortunate enough to be caught in the area of effect from an ECM pylon, meaning that they could not have any locks whatsoever. So despite the half lock targets, that was just reduced to negative, because that's how the ECM pylon works. And it's really hard to fight if you can't lock anything. So there's no logistics, no offensive whatsoever. So that resulted in that fleet getting killed and having to bail out. There was a attempt to continue later on. That part was also interrupted, and at this time I managed to sneak in and provide additional information, because I ran the World Arc Proving Ground a lot in Chapter 1 to give on-site tips or more info. Shortly after the second attempt was ended, the system hit final liminality. Let me say it correctly this time. And we managed to keep the site open. So even though the system did hit final liminality, the site remained open, even though it wasn't showing up in the overview as a warpable location. And then another attempt was made to finish the site. So it was one site, and there were 3 attempts, and on the third attempt, the site was actually completed.
Okay, so let's change the word from destroyed to completed, because it doesn't actually get destroyed. I thought it did because somebody used the word death, but what they meant was...
They may be saving that for the very end.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't gotten even to directly interact with that World Arc object yet in space. Like, it just kind of sits there.
So to correct...
I'm unable to confirm, but I know that during Chapter 1, with the World Arc Proving Ground, no matter what ship you were in, no matter how good you're able to lock, it would take you at least 3 minutes to lock the World Arc, and it had 99% shield resists across the board. So there was nothing feasible to break it, even if you could lock it. And what I heard from people that were active in the EDI fleet when they completed the site, they were unable to get a lock. So I'm unable to confirm this myself if it's unlockable or if there's still a massive locking time with crazy resist. So that's the part I can't confirm yet.
Okay.
But it's still pretty much untouchable, the World Arc itself.
Okay. So that's the big thing that we got wrong. It's not destructible. Maybe it's not even touchable. It is defeatable, and by death, somebody used the word death, but what they meant was, well, not death, but it goes back into the abyss. Well, that's more of a retreat than a death. So,
yep.
Okay.
It works as, if we are to make an analogy, it's like the fortress gate, and it's able to lower the gate for forces to come out. And at one point, if you defeated those forces, it's decided that enough is enough. It's no longer sustainable, and they withdraw that ship at that location. Therefore, you complete that specific site.
I see. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you. So we get that fixed up. Now let's go to patch notes for 18.07. This is a big deal because we have some balance passes to the command ships. You wrote a nice little.
So 1807 is 1807 is this entire month's release. But what they've been doing is they've been doing these little updates every time that there is a change. They add to the month's article. So at the very top of the article, we're going to find the changes from yesterday.
All right, Francois, do you want to go over those? Can you speak up a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I moved my mic a little closer. So obviously the thrust of the changes yesterday was the Team Talos update that brought us rebalanced command ships. They split them into two groups. I mean, they've always kind of been split into two groups. It's been unofficial. There's no indication in game. They have a different purpose. You kind of have to know their attributes. But they're basically split into a tankier group and an attackier group. So the ones that are in this attack group are listed here: Absolution, Nighthawk, Astarte, and Sleipnir. They do more damage. And Damnation, Vulture, Eos, and Claymore, which covers all four races as well, tend to have more tank. So I summarize the changes for the attack ships instead of going through every single attribute on each one, which you can see on the patch notes. If we run it down, basically, all of them received a 5% more command burst strength. They were 15% at level 5, now they're 20% at level 5. All of them lost their double command burst range bonus. So now they no longer have a range bonus of any sort. They only have stronger bursts, which is actually a very compelling reason to use them. All of them had their scan resolution increased, so they're all going to lock things faster. The Absolution and the Nighthawk had their mass decreased. Absolution and Astarte had the CPU increased. Absolution had the power grid increased. The Nighthawk had one low slot moved to a mid slot, and the Nighthawk had a very, very notable rate of fire increase. It did receive a 7.5% per level bonus for 37.5% reduction in the rate of fire speed in the cycle time. Now that bonus is 50%. So it is important to note that rate of fire works inversely. So 37.5% bonus to rate of fire provides a 60% increase in DPS. A 50% increase in rate of fire, 50% decrease in cycle time results in a double DPS. So if you combine that with the kinetic bonus, then when you're firing kinetic ammo, the Nighthawk fires the equivalent of 13.75 unbonus launchers at once. It does absolutely insane damage, and Suetonia noted that this outdamages a Torperated now with better application. So that's the summary of the changes to the attack ships. Mm-hmm. The tank ships.
1 second
go ahead.
Before you go on, just mass decrease. How does that benefit a ship?
So mass affects the maneuverability of a ship. So at acceleration and deceleration. So when you are aligning to warp, then your mass is relevant. When you are using your propulsion mod, then your mass is relevant in terms of acceleration and deceleration. So lower mass means more maneuverable ships.
It basically means you're faster. You can position better and faster.
Yeah, so the max speed is something separate that was also changed. Everything got a max speed increase.
Mm-hmm.
Max velocity. Yeah, everything except the Sleipnir got a max velocity increase because the Sleipnir was just really good. In fact, the only change the Sleipnir received at all was the scan resolution increase. It received no other change.
Wow.
It was doing enough damage. It was fast enough. Yeah.
I guess it was in a good place before.
Yeah.
All right,
Everyone agrees that the Sleipnir was in a good place. So at this point, a Nighthawk kind of matches it for damage, not for range. They still have slightly different flavor, which is good, but raw, it does have a match for raw output now, whereas before it did not.
Okay, go on. I interrupted you.
No. So that's the attack command ship changes. The tank ones can be described much more simply, except for the EOS, which really has to be talked about entirely separately. But as a group, they received no changes to their command burst. So the attack ones, they went from 15% to 20% at level 5, and they lost their range bonus. These guys retain their range bonus, and they're still 15%, actual command burst strength bonus. They all received the scan resolution increase, just like the attack ones. The two that had a local reps bonus, the EOS and the Claymore, the Galente and the Minmatar ones, have dropped their local reps bonus because that wasn't particularly useful in a fleet setting, and that's really what these are, especially these being the tankier ones. And in place of the 37.5% local reps bonus, they've been given a 20% resist bonus. So this just gives them more brick. This is still useful if you use local reps. Resists are good for everybody. In terms of effective hit points, it's fairly, it's excellent. So for the local reps usage, it's not really that bad, and for fleet usage, it actually gets a bonus that is relevant as opposed to completely irrelevant. So that's very nice. The Vulture has had its optimal range bonus for hybrid turrets removed, and in its place, it has now a 50% shield hit points bonus, which is obscene. So until now, the Damnation had a 50% armor hit points bonus, which made it just the brickiest of bricky things. Like, you never attack the Damnation first. It's like there's no point. And so the Vulture has the same bonus now, except it's shield, which means it regenerates itself. So if you bling out, before now, the brickiest command ship was a blinged out Damnation. You had the amulet pod, which gives you a % increase to armor hit points. That, goes along with the hull bonus for the increased hit points, and you'd have Damnations with 300, 400,000 armor EHP. And Vulture matches that now. Vulture, you can get to 300, 400,000 if you use the shield HP pod, the Nirvana pod. With a cheap fitting, an expensive pod, but a Tech 2 fitting, 150 mil fitting, you get a Vulture up to 300, 400,000 effective hit points in just shield. And what this does is the more shield hit points you have, you don't even fit the thing for regen, you fit it for buffer, and you just get regen. If you fit it for regen, it's even sillier. But if you fit it for full-on buffer, then you end up around 400,000 shield EHP versus Omni damage, and about 1,250 EHP per second of regen, just incidentally, just because you have so much hit points. So this is a very, very strong thing now, and that's obviously at the bling pod end, but that's again a cheap fitting.
That's 10% per level. Does it stack cleanly like that? At level 5, you have
skills are never stacking penalized with themselves or with anything else. Basically, rather than looking at skills as an increase in something, it's that you start out penalized. You start out without the full effect, and you skill into and grow into the full effect.
Well, command ship's 5. You need that to get the whole 50%.
Yeah. Which honestly is not that bad a train. Like, it's still subcapital. I forgot exactly what the training multiplier is, but it's probably about like 20 days if you do it on map, give or take, maybe less. So it's like 3 weeks for level 5. It's not. There are much worse trains out there.
It seems like the specialized ships, the T2 component of a ship, whether it's an assault frigate or a command ship or a logistics ship, those trains are not very hard. They're usually, you're right, 17 to 20 days on average. But to get the level 5 of the ship that you need in order to use the T2 version of it, that's usually where the bulk of the training happens.
Right. So again, these are medium hulls, which is not that bad on the training multiplier. They're not large hulls, so it goes quicker than that. It's certainly faster than like a Marauder or a Blops. But it is known that command ships are some of the most skill-intensive ships in the game, even though they're medium hulls, because they have so many different requirements. And the fact that the way that command burst strength works is that the strongest command burst will override all other command bursts on grid, which means that you really do need someone with a maxed out skill. So technically, each specialization level of the command burst for armor, each specialization level for shield, skirmish, info, each specialization level for those 4 gives you additional command burst strength and is therefore better. So can you get by with level 4 specialization? Is that good enough? Sure, but it's just going to get overridden. So you really do want level 5 specialization for all the command bursts, and that is a charisma skill, the charisma attribute. And there are very few things in the game that use it. You basically have, if you stack up everything in the game that uses charisma and you train it all at once on map, that's about half a year of training, and you can only remap once a year. So you kind of get stuck there. So it's a very, people that use command chips tend to skill into them very directly and very purposefully, and then they max it out. So that's kind of why I view these ships from a maxed out skill view. Because if someone's going into command ships, they're going all the way. They're going all the way. Yeah. It takes a lot of training and a lot of work and dedication to properly fly these, and these things only get flown maxed out.
Which means that you have to max out or you're useless. At least you don't get the bonuses.
Yeah. So that's so we were at the Vulture change. Yeah. 3 more. So I'll do the 2 quick ones, and then there's the EOS, and that's the summary. Mm-hmm. So the Claymore had a missile application bonus. The explosion velocity was bonused, which was kind of handy, but it wasn't really handy enough because you still needed to either deal with it or just or fit for application. It wasn't very extensive. So that has been removed, the missile application bonus, and it's been replaced with a larger bonus for range. So they got 37.5% missile explosion velocity, and that's gone. And now it has 50% missile range bonus, which is extremely good. So it was not range bonus before, and there was no range bonus command ship for launchers. So now that has double range, and to go along with it, its lock range has now been increased. So now you can have like a heavy missile Claymore that's really tanked out and shooting from the back, and it can have some range, and it can lock as far as it needs to. It can apply well. So those are the short ones. The EOS is a whole new ship. So the Nighthawk was the other ship that received extensive changes, and the EOS is more extensive. First and foremost, it received an extra low slot. That's easy. It got a lot of the other buffs that everything else did. It got its max velocity increased. It got its mass decreased, and it's got its targeting range increased. And as we stated before, it had that local repair bonus, 37.5% level 5. That was changed to a 20% armor resistance bonus. It retained its 50% bonus to drone hit points and damage. And here's where the bonuses get a little wonky. So the 37.5% bonus to medium hybrid turret tracking is gone. Instead, we have a 50% bonus to drone optimal range, all drones, not just heavies. The 37.5% bonus that was heavy drone max velocity and heavy drone tracking, that lost the max velocity, gone. But the tracking bonus was changed from heavy drones to all drones. So now this thing has 37.5% to all drone tracking, 37.5% to all drone, 57% to all drone optimal, and 50% bonus to all drone hit points and damage. So this thing is really strong on the drones now, and they took away a high slot. So they took away the hybrid tracking bonus, and they took away a high slot. They gave us a low slot, and they gave us a lot more drone effectiveness. And they made the drone bay bigger from 250 to 300. So this thing can field a flight of heavies, a flight of mediums. This thing can even effectively field a flight of lights, and they're all bonused in every way. So the EOS is just, or sentries. And in
sentries.
fact, Rise said that sentries was kind of like the thrust. He wanted to make this more of a sentry boat.
Yeah.
So they've really done that. This thing is, pretty much all drone, and the high slots are incidental. The high slots are entirely unbonused. There's no turret bonus on this ship whatsoever. You can use it. It has the turret hard points, so you could fit them if you want. But you could just put auto cannons or even arties on there if you wanted. So the EOS is just a very, very different ship now.
It's funny because its little brother, the Brutix, is such a brawler.
That pretty much covers all of it.
Oh, I was saying it's funny because the little brother of the EOS is the T1 version is the Brutix, which is such a brawler.
So Tamaya is saying that the Nighthawk was nerfed, but what was taken away? It's stronger now. Hang on, let me see what it lost.
Wait, before you go on, a little more on the EOS.
It lost a low slot.
Because
go ahead.
The EOS is what Rise kind of said, we're going to get this ship back into shape. But that was one of the examples that he raised as far as command ships needing some love. So this whole line of command ships has changed. EOS was pointed out as an example. What's this ship going to be used for now?
Well, so the idea behind the Claymore and the EOS change, specifically with the resists, was to make them more fleet worthy, because a local reps bonus made them useless for that. So the fact that it has, the fact that they're a little bit faster, they're a little bit more maneuverable, and they have that resist bonus now, makes them definitely more usable in fleets. We may see them there, and that was the idea behind it. The Vulture is just stupid. the Vulture, the Vulture is the new damnation, except better. But it has to. You'd have to be in a shield fleet, and I don't know how many of those there are. But if there are, then the Vulture is going to be just.
It's actually a command ship.
Yeah, for a real command ship. Mm-hmm. And the attack ones, I don't know. So I don't know how they intend to differentiate the two in terms of usage, large fleet versus small fleet. I don't know. I don't know enough about the meta to speak on that. I can only guess at it. I can report the stats. I can tell you what the thing does. But as far as what people are going to do with them, now we're out of my lane.
Got it. Okay. I just thought there might be an obvious use with all the drones, maybe actually using it for even running missions, but not necessarily running PvP fleets and stuff. But you have to remember the command ship was built to be the fleet commander's ship that would bonus all the guys and would lead the fleet. But it quickly got sidelined because of speed issues and tank ability and that kind of stuff. They used to be really good tanks, like a battleship-sized tank on a cruiser. Or a battle cruiser, but that over time gave way to the. I think gave way to Well, eventually FC said, we just got to survive on the field. If we don't survive, the fight's over, so you need to protect us. And they gave them the Monitor, which does no damage or anything, but it allows survivability for FCs to stay on the field. But that's what these things were supposed to be, survivable ships.
But one of the things that really hurt the command ships were the strategic cruisers, because there were a lot of things that the strategic cruisers could do. It maybe not as strongly with regard to the command bursts, but they would be a lot more flexible, and there were other things that just made the strategic cruisers stand out that much better than the command ships.
I mean, for command burst purposes, in a large fleet, you're never going to see a Tech 3 in place of a command ship. Like the stronger bursts and the fact that they are tankier is just like non-negotiable. In smaller fleets, you absolutely will see, the Tech 3s showing up there. But I mean, so the reason that command ships are so incredibly strong, and frankly in Tech 3s as well, is that medium. So they mount their medium hull. They mount medium weapons, and medium weapons have the damage to punch up. To do damage to large targets, and they possess the application to punch down and apply well, effectively to small targets. Whereas large weapons punching 2 levels down is very difficult, and small weapons doing damage to a large target is just impractical. Medium weapons have that flexibility to punch either way, and command ships and Tech 3s are the strongest medium weapons platforms by far. So that's why we had this dominance of the Sleipnir before. That's why that name made people shake in their boots, because this was the command ship that did the most damage, and command ships as a group were just the strongest platform. They could just kill anything, kill something small, they could kill something big, kill something the same size. They just killed everything.
Yeah, the clear example of how these were popular were the Alliance tournament where you had small gang. It was a small gang tournament, right? It's like 10-12 against 10-12. And Sleipnir was like a dominant Alliance tournament ship.
Yep, it had the agility, it had shield with the added bonus of shield remote reps landing at the start of the cycle, and then you had the cooldown and they hit again, so they would apply a lot quicker compared to the armor. And the Sleipnir was just an amazing package. They had the MR Tech 2 resists, so that means that you got a much stronger EM resists on shields, and that's one of the biggest holes. So it had a good resist profile, it had speed, it had punching power. It was a really strong contender in the Alliance tournament setting.
So what we've ended up with here at the end of all of these changes is that the 2 ships that were the strongest in their group really received no changes. The Sleipnir was the strongest in the attack group, it got some scan res. The Damnation was the strongest in the heavy tank group, and it got some scan res. And then the other ships received changes as were needed. The Vulture is an extremely impactful change. Again, with a bling pod, this thing reaches 1,000 EHP per second or more in just regen, and a brick the same size as the Damnation. This is a very strong change. The EOS is a whole new ship. The Claymore looks like it was tweaked enough that it might see some use, but really I think the Claymore might have been a little bit left behind on this one. The missile range bonus is good. It's nice. Like that will have a place. Someone might find a way to use that cleverly.
It's a really important one on the Claymore is the active shield boost change into resistance, because that clears up your mid slots where you can actually start looking at getting the most out of a local tank. You can say, hey, no, I can actually fit it to have it look at remote reps and getting that resist bonus in it with a 4%. That helps a lot with the survivability of the ship, and you can actually get a lot more flexibility in how you want to fit that ship for different purposes. Like, do you want to go as a missile boat? Do you want to go full dead-on command bursts? So it has received a lot of love. That's certainly, though, the one that stands out the most to me is definitely the EOS.
Yeah, the Claymore.
Right.
So that was the kind of the thrust there. The Galente and the Minmatar command ship had their traditional racial bonus of local reps for armor and shield respectively, and so that has been turned into more role appropriate resist bonus now. Hopefully they'll see some use, and so that kind of wraps up the tanky ones. So to just review the attack ones very quickly.
Yeah.
Because someone asked about Nighthawk.
Yeah, exactly.
So Sleipnir again. Sleipnir was good. It's still good. It got some scan res like everything else, and good to go. Astarte got a little bit of fitting, and it was made a little bit faster. Scan res, good to go. Because Astarte also was in a pretty good place. Absolution got CPU and grid, whereas everything else just got a little bit. It got some mass decreased. It was also made a little bit faster. No major changes to the Absolution. The Nighthawk, however, is the Nighthawk now is worth almost 14 on bonus launchers. so it does a lot. So it had one of the lows move to the mids. It's a little bit faster, a little bit lighter, and it now does just a ton of damage. It just does.
And that scan resolution is significant. The base.
Yeah, they all got. Yeah, every single one, all 8 command ships got scan res in this pass, so they can lock a little faster, just like battleships did in the other one.
I say that to be clear. Your voice drops a little bit, but it means you can target quicker. Correct?
Yeah, it means you target things more quickly. It also means that anything that you do to bonus your scan res is more impactful as well. So if you had a sensor booster before and you have a sensor booster now, then it's going to be like, wow. It's going to be like you may even be able to change, like if it was scripted before, you may be able to unscript it. There's a lot of benefits in there.
Right. The bonuses are bigger if your base number is bigger.
Yeah, because it's a percentage-based bonus.
Yep. So
just for example, if you fit a Nighthawk with 3 Tech 2 ballistic controls and Tech 2 heavy assault missile launchers, and a Tech 2 damage rig and a 3% implant, we're talking about 20 million Iskin fitting so far. For the damage, you're doing 1,300 damage per second cold. Like that's how much damage this thing does.
That's good.
But yeah, the biggest change to these ships, to all 4 of the attack command ships, is the fact that they no longer have the double range on their command bursts, and the command bursts are 33% stronger. Well, the bonus is 33% more, rather, not the overall command burst. The bonus was 15%. Now the bonus is 20%.
Got it. All right, we got 5 minutes. Anything else you want to talk about here?
That's the summary.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Good stuff. We'll see if this works. The command ships. I think your overall impression. What's the major takeaways? Like 2 sentences.
They fit their roles better.
Which are?
So, I mean, the attack ones are attackier. The tank ones are tankier. So it appears to be, and this is like speculation on my part, it appears to be that without the range bonus, with the stronger command bursts, they're actually intended to fly with an attack wing. And then the other ships stay in the back.
And there will be more of them on the field of battle because I can't cover the same range.
Yeah, so there's going to be more. So you have these high damage ships and you get more of them on the field with stronger bonuses, and they actually travel with their attack wing and do damage with everything else. So it seems like it'll be more fun.
Yeah, actually, it's a good choice for an FC, I think.
Yeah. And the ones that wanted to sit in the back, they still get to sit in the back, and now they have more choices for sitting in the back.
More choices.
It encourages people to use multiple attack command chips, and because you got multiple, you can actually say, let's spread out the command bursts, because that way we got better coverage, and if one of them is taken out, it's not like all of a sudden all of your command bursts are gone.
Yeah, that's good. I see more asynchronous combat, small groups in different places, which is what the SOV system's supposed to do, is spread out combat to different grids rather than everybody in the same place. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. It was pretty thorough, Fonsui. And Gunnar.
Well, all I can say is if people are interested in knowing more about the difference with the Chapter 1 World Arc Proving Ground and now the new Chapter 3 World Arc site, I'm happy to make a more in-depth analysis, give some advice for people that want to do it, but let's leave that for a different thing and if there's enough interest for it.
Right. All right. I'm going to send you guys over to Ron, USMC, who's giving you the lowdown on the war right now. So enjoy that. He's drawn on the map. We'll see you tomorrow.